When we related the plot of the Atrahasis myth, we left the hero at the point when the god Ea tells him of the flood and advises him to build a boat. We will now go through the remainder of the story. From this point on, we will follow the narrative as it appears in the Gilgamesh epic, because its state of preservation is much better than the version appearing in Atrahasis. Just remember that the protagonist is here called Utnapishtim rather than Atrahasis. The English translation, which we will read, is taken from the recent edition of the Assyriologist Andrew George. We shall skip some important parts. You are strongly encouraged to read the entire story in George's book.
Utnapishtim spoke to him, to Gilgamesh. The boat that you are going to build, her dimensions should all correspond. Her breadth and length should be the same. Cover her with a roof like the Apsu. I understood and spoke to Ea, my master. I hereby concur, my master, with what you told me thus. I have paid attention. I shall do it.
Utnapishtim then asks for Ea's advice on how to present the enterprise of building the boat to his fellows in the city. Ea advises him to deceive them into thinking that he has to leave the earth and go down to the underworld.
Then also you will say to them as follows. For sure Enlil has conceived a hatred of me. I cannot dwell in your city. I cannot tread on Enlil's ground. I shall go down to the Apsu to live with Ea, my master.
Utnapishtim's fellows believe his explanation, having no idea that the boat is designed to save him and his family from a huge flood while leaving them to die. They all assist him in building the boat.
The carpenter was carrying his axe. The reed worker was carrying his stone. The rich man was carrying bitumen. The pauper brought the tackle. For the workmen I butchered oxen.
Utnapishtim feeds the workers every day.
Every day I slaughtered sheep. Beer, ale, oil and wine I gave my workforce to drink, like the waters of a very river. They were celebrating as on the feast days of the new year itself.
When the boat is ready, Utnapishtim loads it with property and animals and invites his friends, family and craftsmen aboard.
I loaded aboard it whatever silver I had. I loaded aboard it whatever gold I had. I loaded aboard it whatever seed I had of living things, each and every one. All my kith and kin I sent aboard the boat. I sent aboard animals of the wild, creatures of the wild, persons of every skill and craft.
When the appointed time comes, Utnapishtim goes into the boat and the terrible flood begins.
I went into the boat and sealed my hatch. At the very first light of dawn, there came up from the horizon a black cloud. Within it, Adad did bellow continually.
The depiction of the flood itself is poetic and replete with mythological descriptions.
The god Arakal was ripping out the mooring poles. The god Nin-Urta, going by, made the weirs overflow. The still calm of the storm god passed across the sky. All that was bright turned into gloom. Like a battle, the cataclysm passed over the people. One person could not see another, nor did people recognize each other in the destruction.
Interestingly, the gods themselves suffer from the flood.
Even the gods took fright at the deluge. They withdrew. They went up to the heaven of Anu. The gods were curled up like dogs, lying out in the open.
After 7 days, the flood was over.
For 6 days and 7 nights was blowing the wind, the downpour, the gale, the deluge. When the 7th day arrived, the gale relented. The sea grew calm. The tempest grew still. The deluge ended. I looked at the weather and there was quiet. But all the people had turned to clay.
The boat eventually lands on the top of a mountain.
On Mount Nemus, the boat ran aground. Mount Nemus held the boat fast and did not let it move. One day, a second day, Mount Nemus held the boat fast and did not let it move. A third day, a fourth day, Mount Nemus held the boat fast and did not let it move. A fifth, a sixth, Mount Nemus held the boat fast and did not let it move.
After 7 days, the protagonist sends 3 birds to see whether the waters have abated.
When the 7th day arrived, I brought out a dove, setting it free. Off went the dove. No perch was available for it, and it came back to me. I brought out a swallow, setting it free. Off went the swallow. No perch was available for it, and it came back to me. I brought out a raven, setting it free. Off went the raven, and it saw the waters receding. It was eating, bobbing up and down. It did not come back to me.
Utnapishtim then sacrifices to the gods, the hungry and thirsty gods who were left without offering supplied during the flood, gather around the offering.
I brought out an offering and sacrificed to the 4 corners of the earth. I strewed incense on the peak of the mountain. 7 flasks and 7 I set in position. Below them I heaped up sweet reed, cedar and myrtle. The gods smelt the savour, the gods smelt the sweet savour, the gods gathered like flies around the sacrificer.
Enlil, chief of the pantheon, finds out about Utnapishtim's survival. At first he becomes angry, but later he is persuaded by Ea that the flood was an extreme move, and his anger is appeased. Eventually he blesses Utnapishtim and his wife.
Enlil came up into the boat. He took hold of my hands and brought me out. He brought out my woman. He made her kneel at my side. He touched our foreheads, standing between us, to bless us. In the past, Utnapishtim was one of mankind, but now Utnapishtim and his woman shall be like us gods. Utnapishtim shall dwell far away at the mouth of the rivers. They took me and settled me far away at the mouth of the rivers.
With this, Utnapishtim concludes his first-person story within a story about the flood. As we explained before, a very similar plot is told in the third person in the Epic of Atrahasis.